I want to welcome everybody to our Upscale Success Strategies webinar. I'm your host, Jamie Skolteti. I'm going to introduce myself as we get started here momentarily, but joining me also is my special guest, Mark Canty, and I'm so thrilled to have Mark here. Mark has been kind of co-facilitating with me some of our live webinars, some of our implementation calls for my Upscale Success Strategies membership program. And so, Mark, you can see Mark and I both here. We'll wave at you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Jamie.
You're very welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Just to mention, we're kind of doing a take two. Mark and I are going to re-record our webinar. We did this a little while ago, and we had a couple of little technical difficulties. And so rather than putting out a recording that is not, as good as it could be, I'm not going to say it needs to be perfect, but we'd like it to be, with lots of great knowledge and all of that. I just want it to look good. I want us to share with you some really great strategies. And I just felt like I was a little distracted by some of the tech glitches. And so just thought we would kind of re-record this together. And we'll ask some of the questions that came up during the live webinar so that I can answer those as well. So, okay, let me slide this along. There we go. So this topic is why defining your ideal client avatar is vital to your success and how to attract the perfect profiles for your business. So this is me, Jamie Skolteti. My business is upscaleyourbusiness.com. I provide virtual executive assistance and social media strategy. I specialize in helping professional coaches and consultants to systematize their business, maximize visibility, and attract ideal clients. That's a little about what I do. And this is a little bit about Mark, and I'm just going to introduce you, Mark, and then I'm going to have you talk, introduce yourself. So this is Mark Canty. He looks different now. He's got a goatee. I think the goatee looks actually better than your picture here, to be honest. I think you need some new professional shots, although these are lovely too.
I need some updates. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. But his company is called Release Dynamics, releasedynamics.com, and he specializes in, he does reputation management and marketing. And what that means is he specializes in helping entrepreneurs make sense of what the internet can do for their business, establish an online presence, and gain more traffic, leads, and sales. I'm going to have him introduce himself, and then I want to comment on how Mark and I have been working together and the difference he's made for me. So, Mark.
You bet. Thank you, Jamie. And my logo is a little small, so you can't quite see my byline. And that's another thing I need to get updated too, Jamie. I need to get Jamie on that as to help me get some of these little housekeeping tasks that I never seem to get to. But the byline for my business is practical marketing strategies to release the full potential of your business. So that's really my name is based in a philosophy, and this is going back literally decades. You can see me on the screen, so I'm not dating myself. But in my personal philosophy, that I believe that within an idea and within the birth of a business are all of the elements, kind of like DNA for success. And that often what happens is we get in our own way and we're actually blocking our success. So really what I try and do is help people to release the potential that's just there ready to explode, and do that through consultation, through counseling. And also one of the foundational things that I do with people, and we call it reputation marketing, is this idea that the answers lie in your business and in your customers. And that when you tap into that and you start to build that is where all your future ideas will come from, and your success will come from that too. So I have a very simple statement that I say: being successful in business is really actually very easy. It's asking people for what they want and then giving it to them. So that sounds very simple. And now that we have all of the technology available, and we have systems like the systems that Jamie puts in place for attracting and communicating with people, like the systems that I have in place for gathering feedback and creating feedback-driven cultures, we're able to really dig in deep and find out truly what people want, and then continuously ask that question and continuously give it back to them, so that the business has a constant feed of new energy, new ideas, new excitement. And that's how we release the full potential of any business that's out there.
Thank you, Mark. That is awesome. I loved everything that you shared, and that's what you've been able to provide to me in my business. So, Mark and I have, been working together on some things, and he's helped me in my business. I'm helping him in his. We're kind of partnering up in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
one of the things that Mark really helped me with is getting, I tell the story that when I first met Mark, I was like, well, he goes, how do people find you? I'm like, well, or how do they want to work with you? And I say, well, I have tons of testimonials on my website. Like, I got like, I don't know, 35, 40, something like that testimonials. It's a lot. I've got lots of recommendations on LinkedIn. I have a system I felt for, requesting recommendations that would then become testimonials and all of that. But none of that means a hill of beans if nobody gets to my website or to my LinkedIn profile. What if they're just searching on Google, let's say? And Mark pointed out to me very quickly in the first day we met, do you know you don't even come up on Google? I'm like, what do you mean? I've been in business 10 years. There's tons of stuff on me. I'm sure of it. No, there wasn't even where they have the map where it shows your business. There were no reviews. There was no nothing. I was just non-existent. So having all the testimonials in the world doesn't help you if somebody is, sort of on the fence and they're just thinking about possibly working with someone in your field. You want to come up. You want to come up in the rankings. And what Mark has helped me to do is to capture some of that magic, the kind words that my clients have said about me, and put them up online, and translates that into like the 5-star reviews. And those kind of get filtered out through all of my channels. So it's kind of working in the background, and it's all thanks to Mark. And I'm just very grateful. Almost every day I have new testimonials popping in, and they're just showing up. They're showing up on my Pinterest boards. They're showing up on my, I get a Google thing. You just got a new 5-star review. It feels so good. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's see here. We're going to talk about, and it's so perfect that you just shared about what you shared and the difference that it makes and all of that. Because we want to talk about how to get those ideal clients. Because like you said, if you can, what was it that you said? If you can give them what they're looking for.
Yeah, if you can, asking people for what they want and then giving it to them. So it's in that ask, that understanding. And, in the old days, we called it market research, or consumer research. And now we have these amazing tools that we can do this, and we can really zone in and zero in like a laser focus and get good at that. And that's what Jamie's got here to talk about.
Yeah, and it's really interesting these days, and how do you find those people online? Because that's ultimately what more businesses are doing, business online, especially the clients that I work with. We're all kind of, virtual businesses. Some people work local, but, so how do we find them? So let's actually first start with identifying and defining what is an ideal client. So I just did a Google search, and this is what came up, and it speaks perfectly. So an ideal client is someone who finds the perfect solution to their problems or needs in the services or products that your company provides. The ideal client will be loyal to your company, frequently uses or buys your products or services, and is likely to recommend you to their friends and colleagues. And I will say from my own perspective, so true, so true. I get lots of referrals and all of that. So I want to share with you just a little bit about where I stayed stuck. And anybody who has heard my story, I'll just share with you very quickly. I've been in business since 2009. I struggled for a good 4.5 years, at least. I always thought, if I just build a website, people are just going to show up. And as we just determined, that doesn't happen all the time. You have to do things to get people to go to your site. And we're going to talk about some of those things today. But I was always involved in mastermind groups and coaching and all of that. And I had coaches that asked me, well, who's your ideal client? You need to define that. And I just was like, I couldn't even hear that. I literally couldn't hear it. And so because where I stayed stuck was my ideal client is anyone with a checkbook or credit card. I felt, who cares? If anybody can pay me, I'll work with them. I don't care if they're a pest control or a coach. Doesn't matter if they can pay me. I'm good with that. And why would I turn away business just because someone is not in a specific industry? Again, if they're pest control or something like that, why should I say, no, I can't help you? If I can help them, I should. And why should I be limiting myself? So I had all this limiting belief, and I really did stay stuck there. And I want to say to you that, just because you work with somebody that's not in your ideal client market, you can still take on that business. I want to be clear. Like, I was stuck in they're telling me I shouldn't take on business if they're not ideal. And I learned for myself that it's okay to take on business if they want to pay you and they feel that you can help them. And because let's face it, the things that I do could serve a lot of different industries. What I got, though, is that when you really niche it down, it really does help you. And we're going to talk about some of that today. So I just don't want you to stay stuck. Yes.
Just to throw in, chime in there, Jamie, it's so easy, particularly if we're new in business or if we're struggling, and we've always struggled, then we tend to be needs driven, and what I mean by that is we need the money, we need the paycheck. So it's very easy to slip into this mindset of saying, well, I can't really afford to be idealistic right now.
Right.
I just need, I need the income. And, there's a real challenge in that. And I'll give you another kind of metaphor, if you will, for this that I think is really appropriate. And that's when you go, and hopefully I don't get ahead of myself or get ahead of you, Jamie, but when you go into one of those restaurants, and I call it the Bible, they have the Bible, and that's that, or let's take religion over, let's call it an encyclopedia. And you sit down and they hand you the menu and you open the encyclopedia and you start to leaf through this thing and you see they do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And not only that, but they do everything. So there's not a food in the world that they don't make and that isn't on that menu. And I'm sure everyone in the audience is probably like me, is I get this awful feeling that if you're doing all of this, one, there's no way it can be fresh. Two, there's no way you can do all of these things well, if any of them well. So I'm in for a mediocre ride here. I'm in for, frozen foods, that I'm in for microwave dishes and things like that. So, is that the kind of business that, that you, first of all, if you were a chef, is that the kind of business you would want to start? And two, if you're the customer, is that the kind of business you want to go to? No, so you don't want to be that, and then also you ask the waitress or the waiter, hey, what's good? And they go, oh, everything.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the kind of restaurant you're going to go back to? Never. You're just never going to go back there again. So in the same light, it doesn't matter what industry, whether you're in food service or any other industry, how do you become the go-to person? How do you become the expert? Well, you do that by not being all things to all people, but being very singular in your ability to approach what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that analogy. Absolutely love that. So true. So true. And just think about, if you're a restaurant and you specialize in, we only serve breakfast, they're going to do breakfast awesomely. You're going to get the best eggs Benedict,
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I hear a storm coming. If you hear that, I hope that my internet doesn't pop off. So
I heard that. I had a meeting yesterday with thunder booming in the background, and from a fellow in your neck of the woods there, Jamie. So the thunderstorms must be hitting the Florida coast. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we'll move on here. If we do get cut off or whatever, we'll rejoin this as soon as we can. So I love this little slide. What about my broken crown? So what does Jamie mean by that? So I'm going to share that. Not that broken crown, this broken crown. So we're going to talk about, I'm going to share with you the story that really resonated with me, that made the difference to get me beyond that where I stayed stuck place. Because I felt it was very limiting and I really couldn't hear. I literally was like this, can't hear you. I don't want to work with an ideal client. I don't want to work with anybody. So this story, I always share this story, but I love it because it was like a light bulb moment for me. So let's say you have a broken crown in your mouth, it happens. And, we all know that any dentist can help you to fix a broken crown. No question about it. So we turn to what, we used to call the yellow pages. And for those I'm dating myself here, but now we turn to Google. And so we end up here, you put in a search for dentist. You're like, I need a dentist. I need a dentist. I need to fix my broken crown. And you're like, oh my God, there's so many. I don't know, which one should I pick? Oh my gosh, who's good? I don't even see any reviews showing up, nothing like that. So then all of a sudden I see this pop up at the top of the page that looks like this. Of course, it's not sideways, but anyway, it says that they're a crown specialist and they're close by and they're 5-star rating, and that if I read through this, it says they're trusted crown specialists serving my area, and that's what they do. And, granted, I could have picked anybody, but you know what? I'm more likely to pick them just because they say they specialize in that. So that is the analogy. That's a story that I love to share because it really was like oh, duh. Sure, any dentist is going to help me. So All right. So now I'll tell you my little success story of, where I've kind of fallen into, which is that I've defined my ideal client. So let me share with you this. I work with professional coaches or consultants, and I do it in a niched way. And I'm going to talk about that. I never know what the word is, niched, whatever. But we'll talk about that on the next slide. I work with people who are male or female. I work with people who have that their ideal clients can be found using social media platforms, because that's what I specialize in. They typically have blog or article content on their website, which inspires, solves problems, and is shareable. They have and if they don't have that in place, I can help them get that. But that's important. That's a big component of what we do. They have a clearly defined target market, even if it's broad in scope. Because again, coach, consultant, very broad. And they understand their clients' needs. And like Mark said, you understand your clients' needs and how you can help them solve a problem. That's the battle right there. All right, so now I'll talk to you about that. So again, niches of professional coaches and consultants. So I did a little, I was stuck here as well. Somebody would say to me, I had a coach ask me, well, who's your ideal client? You need to define that. I said, oh, I defined that years ago. I got over that. I'm good. I work with professional coaches and consultants. And she goes, that's not a target market. Yeah, it is. Coaches and consultants, definitely. So she pointed out to me, it's such a broad topic. It's such a broad industry. And so I decided I was going to do this little search, and I found all of these different categories of coaches. I just typed in coaches and I saw what came up and created a list. And so this is the list that I use to connect with people on LinkedIn. Because I feel I can help any type of coach, so there goes that like pest control thing. I could help anybody, but having this kind of list and being able to really niche it down so that my messaging can match. I could say something like, I specialize in working with career coaches, let's say. And then they go, well, who do I want to work with? Do I want to work with just any old person who works with coaches, or do I want to work with somebody who specializes in my field? Right, Mark, you turned off your mic, so I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to jump in here.
Yeah, and I want your recording to turn out well, so I'll just mute myself for most of the time, unless I'm going to chirp in here, which I'm going to. And I think this is brilliant, and everybody watching this needs to really look at this is the thought process that you need to go through. And the reality is it takes work. We want to be lazy. We want to say, oh, anybody that comes through the door, I'll serve them. But in order to develop passion in your business and really bring out the best in you, you need to do this kind of work. And this is brilliant what Jamie's done, because she's digging deeper. She's pulling off the layers and doing the research to ask the questions, who is my ideal client, and to experiment with them too. I think this dovetails beautifully into your previous example of the crown, because a dentist typically is not going to say, I do crowns and nothing else.
Right.
But that particular dentist was very smart, because he looked at it from a marketing perspective and said, and who knows, he might have other ads out there. If he's a smart dentist, he probably does. He probably has ads that say your root canal specialist.
Right.
So in the same light, just because there's this broad umbrella, I work with coaches and consultants, Jamie's not just going to throw things out. Oh, are you a coach and consultant? Come talk to me. No. Now her marketing can be really focused. Hey, I want to talk to you about, you're a career coach. I want to talk to you about how you reach people who are in career transition. So she's able to tailor her marketing to that specific thing. Doesn't mean she's not going to then go and work with a meditation coach.
Right.
But it means that at that point in time, that marketing campaign is going to be focused on that particular niche within the coaches and consultants category. So it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I would encourage everybody to take notes and think about this. Do the Google search yourself. Say, what is my broad category? And then what are the smaller subsets of that lie within that broad category? And then how do I start to tailor my messages around that so that I can be very personal within that particular niche? So,
yes, yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for all of that. I love that you have piggybacked on that. And I want to say too, when I connect with like career coaches, let's say, using that same example, I say to them, who do you serve? And they say, well, anybody who needs a job. Well, okay. How about if you tailored your marketing to somebody in the IT industry who needs a job? That is more defined. That is going to get you those kind of clients. And, just as a little side note here, and I didn't even cover this on the slides, but I do want to mention, when you specialize in something, you can charge a little bit more,
Yes.
for your services, because
Yes.
you really understand that industry. I understand the coaching industry, which is why that is my target market, because I love working with coaches, all kinds of coaches.
And the more you work in that field, the more of an expert you become. So it's not just a label. It's it's actually happening because you're immersed in it.
Yes.
And therefore you're getting more and more information about that particular, segment. The other thing I wanted to add in there too is like your point, Jamie, and kind of 2 points here. One is, like you use the example of, oh, I'm working with somebody who's a coach, and I say to them, who do you work with? I'm a career coach, and anybody that wants a job. But this kind of fits too. I want to comment on 2 things here. One is the idea of, you don't throw everybody out. You don't just pick somebody and say, oh, I'm going to go after IT. Why am I going to go after IT? Well, because it's the fastest growing industry and those guys get paid the most. Not good reason.
Right.
What you want to do is do 2 things. First of all, don't be afraid to experiment understand them, but don't be afraid to try different ones, because out of that, you're going to start to then understand more about who your ideal client is, right?
Yes.
And then as you gain experience, then you're going to start to be able to hone in your avatar and say, you know what, I worked with marriage counselors. I apologize if there's any marriage counselors on here, because I'm going to take a little stab at you. But I worked with marriage counselors.
They're on my list here. Go ahead.
And you know what? I didn't like working with them. I couldn't, get traction with them. There was this issue that all of a sudden now becomes, now you know who you don't want to work with, right? And then you maybe say, but I've also worked with parenting coaches, and I just love kids, and I love that whole concept, and I've just had a blast with my parenting coaches. Well, now you're starting to move towards that ideal avatar. And so sometimes, it's not a matter of picking something and saying, this is who I'm going after. You have to have what I call, everybody calls affinity. Do you have affinity for that? Like affinity for the people you want to work with. So you look at it psychographically and demographically and bring all that information together, and then trial and error sometimes comes into play too.
That's right. That's right. And Mark mentioned, doing a Google search. Do it on LinkedIn too.
Yes.
LinkedIn, that's where because that's going to be the focus of the rest of this webinar, really. And there's some great research that can be done there very easily. So
yes, yeah, definitely.
Okay. So who is your ideal client? Okay. So in thinking about your ideal client, and Mark just talked about this, who can you serve best? So we're looking at, I'm going to give you all these kind of categories here, job title. I have clients who work with they work with C-level executives. So I've put in here 2 examples. CEO is one example. You can also do Chief Executive Officer, which they're exactly the same title. One is an abbreviation, one is spelled out. But on LinkedIn, you can do both searches. You can do a CEO, and then tomorrow you could do Chief Executive Officer. So it broadens your search. So think about bigger terms as far as job titles. Industries, you can focus on CEOs who are in IT or insurance, for example. You can focus on location. I don't recommend that unless you only meet with clients locally. Why not be available to the whole world? There was a time I would only look for coaches in the United States. I've opened that up because the services and programs that I offer now really could help anybody anywhere in the whole wide world. So it really opens you up. So don't limit yourself if you don't have to.
Jamie, can I jump in again on you here? And I get excited. I got to reel myself in.
I want you to, please. Yes.
But I come across this sometimes too, where as a matter of fact, there's a prospect that I've been working, a potential client that works in the field of, they do highly developed software in the automotive industry. And yet they're thinking in terms of their marketing, they want to meet in office, they want to do all these things. Yet, so what I pointed out to them and what we worked through was the idea that they were incongruent. They had a product and a service that basically operated in the virtual world. It didn't require really any physical contact at all. Even the software is downloaded, it's sent, online. It's not even, it's not like you need a disk or you need something like that. And yet here they were still back old school, thinking from years ago when they had to go and do installs with CDs and do setup and everything on site for a client, that they hadn't brought themselves in. So even what we're doing right now, in most cases, almost every business, and I've yet to see one that really doesn't fit this model, is we live in 2 worlds. We have the physical, the brick and mortar world, and we have the virtual world.
Yeah.
And I don't believe there's any business that does not live in both spaces.
Yeah.
In most cases, one example would be the other way. I believe there are businesses that live exclusively in the virtual world, but I don't believe there are any physical businesses that do not also reside in the virtual world. So this
Yeah.
idea then expands, the ability of saying, wait a minute, I can work with people anywhere that need, what I have to offer and my specialty.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to realize that you don't need to be confined by physical space.
You don't, and the beauty is that we have this technology now where we can have a business, which is like in Zoom, like how you and I are meeting right now.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're right next door, and you're in Canada, and you're on the West, and I'm on the East, and we're totally different worlds, but here we are.
Yeah, the internet, I can't remember. I always steal things, by the way. I don't think I have an original thought, but somewhere I heard that the internet basically collapses time and it collapses distance or space.
Yeah.
So, we can deal in things with nanoseconds, and there's no longer that, that lead time or anything else happening anymore. And we can do it in any time zone anywhere in the world. And also space. We can deal with it on the other side of the globe. We can be doing business or communicating with somebody. So we don't have this distance that we need to worry about.
Yeah, I love it, especially because I've been doing for the last several years, I've been doing my consultations in Zoom. I give people the option, if you can't, you don't have to show your video if you don't want to be on camera, but I'll be on camera so you can see me, but also I can show you some things. I can share with you what you should be doing on your LinkedIn profile and this and that. So, and it makes a big difference. People will do business with you if they know, like, and trust you, as they say. And, granted, if you want to meet somebody in your local Starbucks, that's cool. I can tell you, not to offend any local clients that might be watching this, but I've had people in my local area who they're like, can we meet somewhere? I don't really love that. I'm like, we can meet here in Zoom. I'm busy and I don't really want to go out to Starbucks and meet you. So this whole space has just opened up all kinds of possibilities. So, all right, so I'm going to now we talked about location, we'll talk about company. So I'm going to give 3 examples here in the next 3. So I have a client who's a career coach, and she had a thought, hey, there's some people being laid off. She works with C-level executives, and she said, there's people being laid off at IBM and State Farm. Can we target people at those companies? By all means. So we did that. We targeted people from those companies who were C-level executives, and she got a lot of consultations for that. So that's a great thing to think about when you're targeting, especially in that kind of space. What school they attended. So this is something new that just came up with a recent client of mine. She works with people who are in the hospital and healthcare industry, but we found that there was we reached all of the people in the, clinical director, medical doctor, we kind of tapped out on that. And so she decided, she asked me, can we do a search for people who went to liberal arts colleges? And so I came up with a whole list of liberal arts colleges around the country and that are who are now in that industry. So for whatever reason, that seemed important to her, and it worked. People are resonating with her message. Gender specific. And I just want to share this little tip because I have a client who specifically works with women. And unfortunately, at this stage of the game, as of the recording of this, you can't search people by male or female. You just can't. So I found a little workaround around that. So when you're doing searches on LinkedIn and you're looking for, let's say, the female gender, then you could say, let's say, career coach she, or career coach her, and the same for men, he or his. So, and I put those examples there. And what that does is it will search for their summary and their profile section, because a lot of people will speak in third person on their profile on LinkedIn. So it will find the people who go, she has, all these degrees, or she specializes in working with such and such. So that's just a nice little tip for those of you who do work with gender specific. What do they need to learn from you? You need to understand that. And like Mark said, once you know that, and then what's the transformation that you can provide to them? So those are the things to think about in thinking about your ideal client. So why does this all matter? Because your ideal clients are on LinkedIn. You simply have to find creative ways to connect and begin a dialogue with them. And today, here, I'm going to show you 8 effective strategies to do this. I'm going to run through kind of quickly because we had a lot of build up in the beginning, and I want to try to keep on track with our time here. So success strategy number 1 is to find your ideal clients. And I just give you a screenshot here so you can see how to do this. You just type in your, ideal client avatar, executive coach in this case. And you want to always select second connections. Whoops, I went a little too far. Hold on. Okay. And you can see I've highlighted in red all of the key things. You don't have to answer every one of these. You can just pick, if you want to pick a location, if you want to pick a company, if you want to pick an industry or past companies or schools, you can do that. In my case, I literally just do executive coach and then do a search. And I look for second connections, people I'm not already connected to. But those are the, and I just want to mention, these are categories that can be accessed if you have the business account on LinkedIn. You can also get the Sales Navigator account. It's a little more money. The business account, I think, is $70 a month. Well worth it for all of this, but the Sales Navigator is a little bit more, and they give you more in-depth searches. And I'll say like people who have been in business 1 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now success strategy number 2 is view their profile for conversation starters. And I've just copied and pasted a few little screenshots here. So just as an example, if I'm on this person's profile, I might want to write to them and say, hey, I noticed that you coach people who are done with stress and overwhelm, controlling their lives. And I think that you're probably making a big impact in that area, or so, whatever you can say to just mention something about them. People are very flattered when they know that you've read their profile. It makes a big difference than just, we typically do generic messages, but, we try to incorporate some kind of personal note in there. And also look at their highlights, because you'll see how many mutual connections you have. You'd be surprised, especially when you get really niched into your target market. And let's say I'm looking at career coaches, I'm probably going to be connected with at least 45 people, and so that's a good conversation starter. Hey, and sometimes I'll say something like, I noticed that you're a career coach, and oh, by the way, I noticed that we have 10 connections in common, and 5 of them happen to be clients of mine. And I name them. I've worked with this person, that person, and this person. And they go, oh, she's worked with people that I know. Or you can look at what mutual groups that you're both members of. Hey, I noticed that we're both ICF members, and that's pretty cool. Also, you can look at their, this is an image of like a blog article that somebody's published. So you could say something like, it says how to connect your conversation in 10 seconds or less. And you may make a comment on that. I'm trying out your theory on how to connect with people in 10 seconds or less. And again, I just put he and his and she and her there just as a reminder. So success strategy number 3 is to create 12, and I'm going to talk about why 12 in a minute, 12 benefit-rich headlines. And I show you here my example. This is my headline, helping coaches and consultants maximize visibility, attract ideal clients, and systematize their business. And I just want to highlight here that a lot of people fail on this. I see it daily. They use this as this is my job title. So they'll put something like CEO of Upscale Your Business. Great. What does that mean for me? I don't get it. So I encourage you to think outside of that. I see this common mistake all the time. I was guilty of it, I'll admit. So, once you really understand this whole strategy, it's just about always sharing what you do, who you serve, and the transformation that you provide. So why 12 headlines? And this is an example that we created for one of my clients, again, a career coach, or actually an executive coach. I'm seeing, well, actually this person kind of covers it all. But we created 12 headlines and we swapped them out once a month. You can see the names of the month right before it. Every time that you swap out your headline, it shows your network that you have a new position. And you don't really have a new position. It's just a new way of wording what you do, but it just brings you back top of mind. And all of a sudden you'll start getting people going, hey, congrats on the new position. That's also a nice way of, hey, I don't have a new position. This is what I've been doing. I just changed out my headline. Hey, you want to have a conversation? So that is benefit rich. And again, I say benefit rich headlines. So always think in terms of what are the benefits to the potential clients. All right. Success strategy number 4 is to optimize your summary section. And this, I want to start by pointing out this top area, the See Contact Info. This is the way it looks now. LinkedIn just changed their interface. This is how it looks as I'm recording this. I want everybody to write this down so that you can do this after you get off this call. Stay here with us, but make sure that you go there and see if your website is listed there. And I say that to you because I look at LinkedIn profiles daily, all day, practically. And you'd be amazed how many people don't have their website listed. And you're missing out on business if that's what you're doing. If you just have your name and maybe your email address, and your LinkedIn profile shows up in your LinkedIn profile, which is, whatever, we can talk about that, but make sure that your website is in there. I had a woman the other day, I sent her a personal note. She wrote me back, said, oh, I don't need your services. I get tons of looks at my blog posts. And I said, oh, great. So I went to look at her blog posts, and I went right here to go to her website. There's nothing there. So I wrote her, and I wasn't trying to be like, no, you don't know what you're doing. But what I said was, I couldn't find your website. I'd love to look at your blog articles to see what you're doing. I'd love to understand your strategy. And yeah, she never wrote me back, but I wanted to point out to her, your website's not even on there. All right, so now I'm going to focus on the next section, which has the little green check marks. And how I got those, I'm not sure, but I got them. But you want to focus on these. There's 3 lines. That's it. That's all that's shown. There is nothing else to be seen there. This is how it looks. They see your name. They see your headline. And then right under that is just 3 lines. And right now, the only thing under that is show more. So nobody is going to click this button, show more, until they understand why they should do so within these 3 lines. So this has to be super dynamic. What I do, how I do it, who I serve, whatever. Anything that gets your clients to recognize themselves in that, so that they want to click on show more. The common mistake, and the reason I bring this up, is I see people who say, I have 5 degrees, I went to Harvard, I have all these awards, I've been so awesome. Nobody cares. Not in this section, they don't. They probably do care a little bit further down. Once they click on show more, then show off, tell them all the stuff that you got. Whoops. But then yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Jamie, I just, chime in there a bit, is that we often, many people get in this mindset, and it comes back to like your comment about people putting their title as CEO or whatever, is people get in this mindset that it's all about me.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell people my worth and my value, and I can do that through my degrees and all these things, and I have to brag on myself, and then they'll do that. But the reality is, who likes that?
Right.
Like, think of yourself even in a social situation. If you meet somebody and they spend 15 minutes telling you about their degrees and their experiences and everything else they've gone through in life, and they've never even asked you your name,
yep.
How do you feel about that person? You probably are looking around the room for an escape hatch. How do I get out of here?
Yeah.
And then you think about, those people in a social setting who are asking you questions and are interested in you, and they want to know about you. And this is critical in business, in that we really need to realize that as entrepreneurs, it's difficult because we're often full of ego and ideas. We're a rare breed that takes an idea and actually takes the risk to step out and make it a reality, no matter what your business. But at that point in time, it's important to pause and say, okay, up until this point, it has been all about me. But the minute you hang out your shingle, the minute you open your doors, it's no longer about you. It's about them.
Yes.
So in your marketing and your messaging, you always want it to be about them.
Yes.
So what can I do for you? How can I talk about a problem solution formula that's your problem, not my problem, your problem, and your solution, not my solution. So that mindset of making it about them is right here. You're offering them, a solution. You're speaking to them, as opposed to kind of blowing your own horn.
Yeah, but you can also blow your own horn and brag about your accomplishments for your clients. You could say things like, I help my clients to make, multiples of income, however you want to word that, whatever you do. I share sometimes in my proposals and all of that, I share, this is the amount of, I have case studies that show, ROI and that kind of thing. And so if you want to share that here, that's fine too, because it really gets them going, I want that.
I agree. That comes back to, validity. You're validating, your statements and what you do. So I agree completely, is
Yeah.
case studies and examples. And again, I would argue that is also about them. It's about your
Yes,
clients, but
that's right.
the
Exactly.
successes that you've achieved that you've had somebody else achieve, as opposed to your, just your own personal achievements. Yeah,
Yep.
which we can get hung up on, and
Yeah.
particularly LinkedIn. A lot of people just think that they arrive there and they go, oh, well, this is like, I got to put in my resume, I got to put in my qualifications. It's very easy to get sucked into that without thinking outside the box. And that's what's brilliant about what you've done here, is you've said, no, wait a minute, don't put CEO in there. Put in how you're going to help somebody, what's in it for them. Yeah,
exactly. That's what they're all there for. What do they call that little acronym? WIIFM. What's in it for me?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but then when they click on the show more, that's where you can, highlight all of that. And I just give you a few examples here, like that I pulled from my own, just because I think that could be something helpful that could help you. So I say things like, my clients typically come to work with me because, and I list a bunch of reasons that people have come to work with me. Let them see themselves. Here's what my clients say. I've taken a couple of quotes of my testimonials and, just put it all right there. And then you could also invite them to fill out a form and talk to you, or just schedule, or just let me know, or send me an email, whatever you want to say to get that next step. And you can put all of that in there. But the key that I wanted to share with you, two things, was the contact info, put your website in there, and just use those 3 lines as prime real estate. That is your prime real estate. All right, so now we're going to talk
Jamie,
about,
I had a quick question for you, and because this is an old strategy that I learned years ago. And to be honest, again, I'm typically just barging ahead, but to check in with you and see if this is still valid. One of the tips that I picked up on, I don't even know if it still works or not, is that at the bottom of your About Me, like when you put the more, so the very bottom of that, you can put in a list, almost like keywords. So you put in, and the way I was taught is you put in specialties. And then you can put in, unique things that basically title what you do, separated by commas, and that they'll be picked up by LinkedIn search. Is that still valid today?
I don't know, but I love the tip.
Yeah.
I love the
So you
tip.
put in this one little line, well, not one line, you can actually put in like 4 or 5 lines, however much room you've got, but put in specialties, and then put in again, coming back to your ideal avatar, who do you want to work with? Specializing in IT coaches, specializing in career coaches.
Yeah.
So you put in specialized once, colon, and then put in IT coaches, comma, career coaches, comma, parenting coaches, comma, and those would all be picked up, I understand, by search. So if somebody,
that's true, yeah.
a parenting coach is then, on there or searching for something, then that'll be picked up for your.
Yeah, and also you could probably also include like the skills. I know LinkedIn now has that, skills thing. And so you can go to your skills and see what's listed there, or put some skills there that you don't like, fill out that too. That's also important. Some people are looking for somebody who really knows how to use Excel or, a certain program. And so if you know how to use certain programs, list them there.
Definitely. And you could even do, if you're familiar with it and you've done a little bit of work, you could even do, or you could ask your internet marketing professional or specialist, what about keywords? What are things that people are searching for? And then using those keywords as categories, as tags for skills, for specialties, things like that, so that you're really, keying in on those high volume words that people are looking for.
Yeah, I'm actually taking a course right now on Pinterest and all of those and I want to learn Instagram too. So I'm going to share a little bit about that later on, but we're talking about like keywords and how to figure all of that out, and how hashtags are super
Hashtags.
important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on here, but thank you for that awesome tip. I wasn't even thinking along those lines, so that's a great thing to add to my program. The specialties, I like that. All right, so success strategy number 5 is to publish posts with a teaser. So publish posts mean that you're taking like your blog content and you're putting it onto LinkedIn. And again, I share this strategy with you because I see so many people who are not doing this, and a lot of people just don't know. So right, Mark's raising his hand.
Jamie, one of the first things Jamie pointed out for me, when she said, she gave me that suggestion. I sent her an article for her to, get her comments on, and she said, "Why are you doing it this way? Why aren't you linking to your blog?" And I went, "Duh, I should know this."
Well, good that you were even publishing there, so yay for that.
Yeah.
But I was mentioning that people aren't even sharing. They're not even publishing their posts. They're missing out on that whole strategy. So we'll talk about both things. So take your blog article, put it on here. You can actually, you can't see it on this screenshot, I couldn't fit it, but you can put your image right above and then have the headline here, you know, in this case, 7 steps to be more visible to your ideal clients each and every day. And my target market wants to know that. They're all looking to market. So they're going to look at this. And I mean, you can see here, by the way, I'll just point this out real quick, 739 views, 37 thumbs ups, 14 likes or 14 comments, and 41 shares. So, you know, I'm thinking that's pretty successful. I mean, and I know there's people who get, you know, even thousands of eyeballs, you know, but I was happy with this, very happy, because those are 739 eyeballs. Well, times it times 2, of course, but here was the place where Mark was unfortunately overlooking this important aspect of this. Most people, if they are doing published posts, they're posting their entire article. Everything you need to know all right here. Read the whole article now, go back to LinkedIn and do what you were doing, right? And so we really just want to get people to go, oh, I'm interested to know more. So you can see here, I've given an example. I wouldn't say just post one line and then go here, click here, because that's rude. You want to get them interested. You know, they don't want to go out to your website to read the whole thing. They want to get enough here that they want to then take the next step. So, and you want to invite them with that line. So click here to learn the 7-step process that we have found to be successful for our clients to upscale their online presence. Yeah, I want to know that 7-step process. That doesn't seem to take a lot of my time. I'll go over and read the article. Make sure that you link that to your website, to the article on your website. You know, we can get into a deeper conversation about how your article then needs a call to action to get them, but that's not the focus of this. But I want to mention that, you know, there's a reason why you get them to your site so that they take the next action beyond that. But it's important that you do this. Okay. And besides, you start to become an authority on your topic when you are sharing your post there on LinkedIn. Success strategy number 6 is to join target market groups. So I use the executive coach as the example again. Just type into a search at the top of LinkedIn and then click on more and then click on groups right below that. And what will happen, you'll start to see tons of results coming up. You know, for executive coaches or coaches in general, there's hundreds, if not thousands of groups on LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn at this point allows about 55 groups for you to be a member of. Join them. Join those groups and get in that conversation. Share your content there. Be helpful, you know. So that's how you do join the groups. And this is why you want to join the groups. So when you do publish or post on LinkedIn, and again, I use these, you know, these icons here, how you do this, how you share to the groups is a very simple process. It's not even all that time consuming. You would just have your article and then you go to the share button underneath the article and go to LinkedIn. And then you start typing, I'm reading this to you, you start typing each letter of the alphabet and then click the name of the group that fits for this content. So right here in groups, you want to make sure that this checkbox is marked, right? And you just start typing in the name. So let's say you type in A, and then all the groups that start with the letter A will show up, and you just select one at a time. You put in, you know, acceleration coaches. Then you pick A again, and then you pick the next group, and you just populate the groups area with all of the groups. And again, you don't want to be posting, you know, content for, I don't know, like I work with coaches, so I don't want to post content for doctors into a doctor's group for my coaches. You know, you want to be very thoughtful about what groups you're putting your stuff in, or you'll get kicked out of the group. But this is how you start to get this kind of traction, is when you're sharing in the groups and people don't know the strategy. So all of this stuff I had to learn on my own. And so finally I was able to put together like a whole system around all of this. Okay. So success strategy number 8 is to accept connections and send a personal message. And again, most of the time when I start working with clients, they're not doing this at all. You know, people every day, just about, if you're doing LinkedIn even halfway right, you're going to have people who request to connect to you. You know, for whatever reason, they might not be ideal clients. They may, you know, to be honest, they might be, you know, somebody trying to sell you something. Okay, but we're talking about the people who are your ideal clients. And we do a process in my company, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but where we look at profiles. We don't, we're not intrusive. We don't say anything to them. We just look at their profile. And my expectation and my, what I know to be true is they'll take one of three actions. They will either ignore me, which is fine, right? Or they're going to be like, oh, I don't know who Jamie Skoltedi is, but let me go check her profile. Oh, she works with coaches and I am a coach. I'm an executive coach and she specializes in that. I need her. And sometimes they'll just take direct action from there. Other times they're kind of confused why you looked at their profile. They might think you need their service. They don't know, but they want to grow their audience. Everybody likes to grow their network. So they will typically send you a connection request, or they will, they send you a connection request. And that is where we then send a personal note to them. And I just give you this example. We use different ones for different clients, but you can see here, this is a career success coach. And she requested to connect to me. And I just wrote, thank you for your invitation to connect. It's almost like it became her idea. She didn't know why I looked at her, but okay. Or sometimes they will just find you and request to connect to you. So however this goes, just, acknowledge it, thank them, tell them a little bit about yourself, and, give some information on what you do and how you do it. Make it personal. I also suggest that you show that you've viewed their profile. I say something like, in reviewing your profile, I was impressed with the contributions you're making. And people love that. They go, oh, I'm doing good things in the world and someone's telling me that. That makes them feel good. And if you can get even more personal, like, I noticed that you do this, and you can mention that I love the contributions you're making at IBM or whatever, make it so that they get that you really did review their profile. And then you can invite them, you can give them a free something. You can invite them to a free webinar like I do, or you can even just say, if you are interested in speaking with me, here's a link to schedule a call, anything like that. So make sure that you're not just accepting the connection and moving on. This is a very overlooked strategy, but I will tell you that this whole thing right here transformed my business. And I know for many of my clients, I've been able to help them connect with their clients with a message like this. Now this takes a lot of time. Yes, it does. And I'm going to share with you, how maybe you want to maybe consider working with my company to help you with all of this. But is that helpful, Mark? Is there anything you wanted to say about that? No.
Sorry, I'm muted again. No, I think it's brilliant. And, thinking these things through and having systems in place so that you're structured and you're ready for that. And again, I have to come back to the entrepreneur's personality, and that these things can sometimes be a challenge because they're repetitive. There's stuff that you need to be on top of. You want to have this mapped out. You want to have it formatted. You want to be doing it on a consistent basis. And again, this is going to sound like a commercial, but it really is. And this is where relying on people like Jamie and VAs to do a lot of this work for you can really be powerful, because it allows you to focus on what you need to be doing, which is, your work, your specialty, not, these administrative tasks that need to be done in order for you to be a professional. And, many people in a corporate environment wouldn't even think twice about being in a position where they didn't have an admin assistant or somebody to help them with these things. Yet so often people who are self-employed or in a small business think that they have to DIY everything. And the reality is you don't have to, and that you can leverage your expertise and be so much more powerful if you're willing to outsource some of this work, because it's brilliant work, needs to be done. Yet I can't remember if it was Rich Schefrin or somebody that said, since when is the solution to having too much to do doing more? Right?
Yeah.
Well, there's kind of almost a contradiction in that, because the reality is there is more work that needs to be done.
Always.
But the question you always want to ask yourself is, am I the person that needs to be doing it?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm so thrilled to be associated and to be able to leverage and utilize Jamie and her services in these particular categories. So,
thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to steal your thunder there.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I was looking for you to comment on this strategy, but I appreciate very much all of that.
It's a brilliant strategy, and Jamie has this really dialed in. I'll tell you that.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just going to comment on what Mark just said, just very briefly, because we could have a very long and detailed conversation. I have other webinars about, how a virtual assistant can help you and how, but I will share with you my own perspective here as a business owner and as a virtual assistant. So I know how to do all this stuff. I wrote the strategies, and I put a system together and I know how to do all of it. So I tend to oh, well, I'm just going to do all that myself. But I will share with you my perspective years later. I've got a team of people that help me with all of this. They do it for me, and I've trained lots of people. So I have a whole team now, and I will tell you, it's just transformed my life that I can spend time, creating webinars and working with clients and attaining more business and all of that. So I want to encourage all of you to think about that. Whether you work with my company or somebody else, make sure that you offload this kind of stuff. You do want somebody who thinks things through, so again, I could have a much bigger conversation about how to choose a VA, but I have a webinar on that, and we'll proceed on here. Okay. So I just want to share with you success. Like, this is what this looks like, is when all of this kind of works together, and especially with the messaging that I just shared with you. These are just some of the comments I was able to pull together in a brief time getting ready for this webinar. So people, they say nice things. It just makes you feel good, and a lot of times they do schedule calls. So I'm interested in learning more and building up my business. When's a good time to talk? Thank you, Jamie, for your kind words. I'll definitely take a look at your website and webinar. I appreciate your sharing your knowledge. Thanks for your comments. I'll take a look at your webinar. Thanks for letting me view it. On and on and on. So I just want to share with you, that this is what could happen for you. So I just want to highlight that. All right, so I'm just going to run through a very quick summary of what we just looked at so that you can just scribble all this down. Find your ideal clients by searching for job title and industry. View their profile for conversation starters. Benefit-rich headlines. We create those for our clients. If you're interested, I'll mention that. Optimize your summary section and make sure your website's visible. Don't forget to do that. Publish your posts with teaser and link to site to read more. Join groups of your target market, share your published posts with those relevant groups, and send a personal message when people request to connect to you. So I'm going to kind of, yeah.
Jamie, I want to add one more thing to
Yeah.
your list. If you can go back, can you go back?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to add in a number 9.
Yeah.
So the number 9 would be, if you can't or don't have the time to do this yourself, find somebody to do it for you.
Yes.
Because if you really want to grow, then you need to implement strategy. You can't just learn and not apply.
Right.
I heard it attributed as a Zen proverb, and that is the way it goes is to know and not to do is not to know.
That's
so the real magic of any idea, and I encourage anybody that's attending any webinar, is, watch yourself very carefully and say, okay, I'm attending all of this, I'm getting lots of information, but what am I doing with what I know? Because until you close that loop and you take action on an idea, you really never attain the knowledge, and you also never attain the benefit or the outcome of it. So I would encourage that all of you think about that as the number 9. If I can't do this, I don't have the skill, I don't have the time, I don't have the patience, I don't have the desire. Ask yourself, who can I get to do this for me? And watch what happens if you do that. Watch what happens when you release that energy and you let somebody like Jamie take over, these tasks.
Yeah, it's about, someone like me, a VA or whatever, to understand your market, understand how to get in front of them. You could hire somebody who's very task-based and will just, kind of do tasks. They're not thinking it through. So that's, I want to share with you some of my strategies here so you understand, the way that I think and all of that. And I know that these strategies work because I've done it for myself. And it's paid off in spades. And I know from my clients that we do this work for. I can point to lots of ROI. I mean, people invest in my services and they make far more than they pay me in the help that I bring right to their doorstep, new prospects and new clients. So, yep. All right, so I'm going to take a little turn here, a little shift, and I'll be brief about it. But I like to talk about, I like to talk about mindset sometimes, and so in some of the future webinars, I may get a little bit more into the woo-woo aspects and all of that. But while we're defining ideal clients, I also want you to think about defining characteristics and traits that you would like your ideal clients to possess. And, did I have to put this into this webinar? Absolutely not. But I wanted to share it with you because when we're talking about ideal, I know for me, it's taken me many years to be able to work. Right now, I can say wholeheartedly that every one of my clients, and there are many, I love. I look forward to speaking with them. I don't dread it. They're getting benefit of working with me. I'm getting the benefit of knowing them. They're staying. They're not leaving. It's just a wonderful thing. And so the reason that I have that kind of success is that I've been able to define this for myself. And so I live into this every day. In fact, I review my list, and I'm going to share my list with you briefly every single morning before I start my day. So step one in defining your characteristics and traits of your ideal client, get specific on who you don't want to work with. Think about the red flags. Think about the gut feelings that you got when you first consulted with them. All those kind of things that came up that you went, I maybe needed the money on this one. Those are the ones that you want to think about. What are those traits that they had that you just, you were dreading working with them? I've had a few, just a few, thank goodness. But step two is then to define the types of people you do want to work with. I mean, this is all very basic, but I wanted to share all this with you because I mean, it just made a big difference in how I connect with those people. Think about your favorite clients. I like to use the term yummy. Who are your yummiest clients? Who do you love? Who's the best? Write down the traits that you value and appreciate them, and remind yourself every day. And here's my list. And I always start out with this. I want this or something better. I say here they make at least 100,000. That's a nice thing to have. Not every one of my clients is at that level, but as long as they can afford to work with me, that's really what it comes down to. As long as, and it's not like I charge them, a ridiculous amount of money, but they have to make a certain amount to be able to afford to work with me. So action taker, thoughtful and caring, responsive, proactive, timely, in integrity, appreciative, grateful, respectful of themselves, their time, me, my team, and our time, mindful of outcomes, mature, drama-free, takes personal responsibility, CEO mindset, leader in their industry, and they're comfortable with making decisions. And that brief list took me years to create.
And you can see, Jamie, how you've evolved to develop, when you think about where you came from anybody that had a pulse and a checkbook, right, to yes, this. And what's interesting about this too, and many of us start this way too, is we start out being very technical. We look at an industry, right? I want to work with, your example, I want to work with career coaches. But over time, what evolves is this list now becomes characteristics, and it becomes much more important. And sometimes there's crossover. Actually, often there's crossover. So you find yourself, it's more about the character of the person I'm working with rather than the industry that they're in. So it kind of comes full circle again, and you find yourself now in a position where you're working with people you want to work with, as opposed to going after, the particular niche or industry that you think maybe has the money to afford you, or that maybe you have some expertise in or whatever. Now, all of a sudden it becomes more the people that you want to work with, and you'll find yourself in industries that maybe you never even thought you'd work in, in the future. So it's exciting to see this, because this is the stuff, this is the real driving force that's going to get you up in the morning.
I was just going to say, this is what gets you out of bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when you have that client that you're like, oh God, I don't even want to get out of bed and deal with them today. It just makes your life not fun. And I mentioned I have a team, so I always tell my team, we have our team meetings, every other Thursday we meet. And I always tell them, when it becomes not fun, then that's when we let them go. With respect and kindness. I have fired clients before, not a huge amount, but when it becomes not, and I've had, I've given them money back just because I just don't want to work with them because it's too difficult. And especially with my team. I mean, they're such great people. They're very similar like me in nature. They're very kind. They want to help. And when it becomes where it's a drain on all of us, then I just say, I would rather leave the money on the table and let's go find other people. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you as we're talking about ideals. This is one of those ideals that people overlook. So aligned for success means that you are connecting with people in the right industry or job title or, whatever criteria that we talked about or that you find to be relevant, and that the services you provide solves their problem. and their personality and characteristics and traits align with you and what you want in your business, that is where you find the loyal customers and referrals. I get a lot of referrals from people who are like-minded and in similar industries. You know, executive coaches refer other executive coaches, and so on and so forth. So it really can build up your business. My business primarily comes from referrals, and then my second is LinkedIn. Those are the two biggest, ways of attracting clients for my business. So, and lastly, just happy clients, happy business, happy you, all those reasons to get out of bed in the morning, right? All right, so now I'm just going to shift a little bit. I'm going to kind of toot Mark's horn and let him toot his own horn, but I just grabbed some 5-star reviews off your website, Mark. I hope you don't mind that I shared them here.
You bet.
Just wanted to say, Mark has, he has a system where he helps people to get these 5 stars, and he'll talk about that, but, people have been raving about working with him. I mean, even me, I've put my little stamp of approval here. So Mark, you want to say anything about how fabulous you are? Please do.
Well, I think, I think what so many people out there talk about getting reviews, and I always like to start a conversation where often that's a lead in where people come to me or they talk to me, oh, I need a better online presence. I need more people talking to me. I need more authority, credibility. I want reviews online. And very quickly, what I try and work with people to a new level of understanding of it is, to me, it's about the feedback. So we neutralize it. So instead of looking at it as a review or a testimonial, what I'm all about is creating feedback-driven cultures. And that comes back to the idea that asking customers for what they want. I honestly believe that if you get really good at this, if you get really good at asking for feedback and you have a system in place and you listen, then you can't help but be extremely successful and profitable. Yeah. Because if you just continually ask people for what they want, what they like, what they don't like, and you start to train and develop your business, your staff, by removing the things that your customers don't like and giving them more of what they do like, then it just becomes this perpetual, real machine that can never end, because you're always in this process of delivering on the promise. And the promise, it really comes back to giving people what they want. So we go from asking for feedback, getting really good at doing that, getting very responsive to that, creating that engagement and that dialogue, delivering it. And the byproduct of that is 5-star reviews. So that's just a symptom, if you will, of doing a really good job of creating a feedback-driven business. And it. I'll give you one little exercise here that I find fun sometimes. And that is, go into a business, or if you're shopping at a business, and you make contact with somebody at the end. It could be a teller or somebody at the till. It could be an owner, a manager, a salesperson. Ask them this question: are you open to feedback? And it's amazing the responses you'll get. You'll get one of two responses. You'll get somebody that will either go, oh, what's wrong? What did we do? They'll kind of cower away and they'll almost protect themselves. They'll literally take one step away from you.
Yeah. And
then regrettably, the select few, in my view and my experience, the very select few, the minority, will step forward and say, yes, I love feedback. And ask yourself, which are you? Which is the environment that you're creating in your business? Are you open to that? And are you wanting to be that sponge, that insatiable learner, to figure out what it is that you can do to constantly improve? Jamie and I introduced Jamie to the concept of Kaizen, which is a Japanese concept, some of you may know it, of incremental improvement. So it's what we're always focusing on is never perfection, but excellence. And excellence comes through continuous incremental improvement. And we do it every day. In every moment. We did it this morning, because you're always going to have challenges and you're always going to have a lot of unknowns. But, do you have your mind focused on that? And I believe that is where the real magic happens, is when we get open and excited about asking customers and getting feedback from them. And then things happen, and the byproducts of that are phenomenal.
Yeah. Thank you. And I just want to say, I told this story on one of our other webinars, but it really is so true. It just came up for me again. I request feedback all the time, and I'm open to, criticism, but I rarely get it. I mean, people do give 5-star reviews willingly, and it feels really good because I feel like I drive myself to be that for people. But one person gave a phenomenal review, but gave me 4.5 stars, and I was like, what did I do wrong? You know, why didn't I get that extra half a star? It bothered me because I wanted to know what was it that, and then I realized, you know, some people just don't give perfection. You know, they just don't, and that's okay. But, you know, the fact that it was, you know, that half a star was missing, it really bothered me. And I, you know, so you have to be open to, like Mark said, you know, are you open to feedback? Even if it's not good, do you want to get that feedback?
And often I've got one client and they charge along. They're always getting 5-star reviews. And every now and then, you know, I would say probably maybe every couple months, they do a fair volume of business. They'll get a 1 or a 2-star piece of feedback. Now, of course, we created a system where that doesn't go online, you know, because they're being proactive. That's what I'm all about, is we create proactive systems where we're continuously asking for it so that people never feel like they have to go and scream publicly, because they know that the business is a culture that says, we want to know. But it's interesting is they rarely comment on all the 5-star reviews we're getting, but whenever they get a 1 or a 2-star, I typically get a thank you from them saying, thanks so much. Those are our favorites. We love those because, you know, we were able to capture that customer and find out, and they didn't say anything to us on the job site. They didn't mention anything. They were quiet about it. But because we asked them in a non-confrontational way, in a way that was comfortable for them digitally, the beauty of using the internet and using technology is they felt comfortable enough to share with us what went wrong, and we were able to correct it. So we turned that customer into, you know, a happy person. And we never would have known that had we not, you know, been in this idea of constantly wanting and striving to get feedback from people and having a good system in place that does it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say that, and you already said it. You know, if you get some kind of negative feedback, be okay about it and address it and fix it. You know,
that's where to me, that's where the gems are. That's where your blind spots are, where growth comes from. Yep. At first, it's exciting. It feels good. You know, you get all these pats on the back and you're all kind of glowy about all these 5-star reviews or 4-star reviews that tell you how great you are. But after a while, you kind of get used to it. And where you get excited is when all of a sudden somebody makes a comment that reveals a blind spot. And you go, wow, I can do something about that. And that's also where the massive opportunities for growth lie. Is in those 1 and 2 and 3-star reviews where you can close the gap. Like you said, you had a 4.5, you know, you asked the question, well, what would I have needed to do to get a 5?
Mm-hmm. And I couldn't ask. I mean, you know, and that's okay. Like I said, some people I know, like, I don't know, somebody in my family, I won't say who, but, you know, they don't give 100%, you know, thumbs up. It's like, nothing's perfect. So, and that's fine. She gave a beautiful review. So that's why I was a little confused. I was like, okay. Yeah. But you're right. It did set me back on my heels a little bit, and it was okay. I had to move on. It's okay. I did enough for her that she left a beautiful written review, and that's great. So, yeah. So, so here's just 3 of and I've got many others, but I couldn't fit them on here. But I just picked out like 3 of the top ones, just so you see, you know, how my clients work with me and what their the benefits that they've received in working with me. Now I'm going to share with you a little bit about our Success Strategies program, which, you know, I'm going to share with you a few things in the next few slides. Some of them are going to be bonuses for you. So, you know, please be patient. We're getting to that. I'll be very quick in my little pitch here. But I do want to share with you a program that I'm still offering at this point for free. And I want you to, as being on this webinar today, I really want you to join this program. We're just trying to fill it up. We want to get a community together of like-minded business people. And so I want to invite you to that. And I'm going to post the link into the right into the replay of this webinar, and I'll send it in the replay or in the email. And some of you might already be members, but we have an Upscale Success Strategies program. It's an online program. There's going to be, and I'll talk about what's in it because I actually have a slide, so I'll stop here at that. But we have other programs. My business does. We have a Done For You signature 7-step client attraction system. We've talked about just one very small portion of it with all the LinkedIn strategy. There's so much more in this program. And again, we do it for you. We also have the same program, but it's a do-it-yourself kind of format. So you can take the strategies, understand them. They're all video trainings, and you can do it yourself. Or if you have a VA already, great. Gift it to them and let them go through the program and let them implement it for you. So that's a good option. And then I also have freedom hours, which is just general virtual assistant time and or social media services. So just want you to know what I offer in my business. And I'm going to get to some bonuses. And Mark, I do want to give you an opportunity if you want to share, a little bit more details about what you offer in your business. Certainly I'm going to give your bonuses and all that, and I'll get there in a moment, if you don't mind. So if you've been trying to upscale your business, but you feel stagnant, if you want to take your business to the next level and have questions about how to do that, if you are smart, driven, and action-oriented, but you're not coming up with ideas that work to build or grow your business, if you are attracting clients who can't afford to pay you what you're worth and your business is suffering, if you are a coach, consultant, or entrepreneur who knows that you have what it takes to change people's lives, but you're feeling overwhelmed by the work it takes to grow a sustainable business, which brings the ideal clients to your doorstep and a steady and predictable flow of income, then I invite you to join our Upscale Success Strategies membership program. And again, at this moment, as of the recording of this, I'm still offering it at no charge. Join us, let's grow this community. So I want to share with you what you're going to get if you join. You'll get exclusive access to our private members only Facebook group. You'll get how-to learning opportunities. There'll be video trainings and all of that, workbooks, checklists, cheat sheets, templates, guest expert teaching webinars monthly, very much like this. And I'm going to have lots of different guests. I mentioned that I'm learning Pinterest. I also want to learn a little bit about Instagram. I think we can all learn together. So I want to bring in people who have skills that I don't have. I want to bring in people who know, more about how to close sales, what's effective in closing sales. I've learned a lot, but I would love to invite people on who can do that. So if you know any guests that you think would be a great fit, send me an email. And that's jamie@upscaleyourbusiness.com, JAIMIE. Live implementation calls on Zoom, again, monthly. They'll be in a Zoom meeting like this, so face-to-face. Video recordings of all the live events. Effective, proven to work success strategies. What we've talked about here is some of that. Valuable resources, bonuses, and giveaways, and so much more, as they say. Okay, here we go. Here's the link for you to get in for free. So just go ahead and jot that down and go on over there. So bonus number 1 is the free Upscale Success Strategies membership. Every month, each and every month, you will receive so many actionable ideas and strategies along with how-to videos and live implementation calls. New content will be added to the program on a monthly basis, and you will be notified of all updates by email. This is in a dripped format, meaning when you sign up, you get the first month, and then 30 days later, you'll get the next month of content, and you'll be given an email that will list out what you can expect during this month. So join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And there's already about 3 months of content in there as I record this. So we're also giving away.
I just wanted to chip in a bit there too, and be sure to use that link, because if you go directly just to the landing page itself, you'll find that it is a paid program. So make sure you use that particular link, because that's the link that will allow you to register for now for free.
That's right.
And of course, you'll be grandfathered in for free as a charter member. But there is a charge for that membership now, and that membership fee will continue to grow. So you've got an opportunity here to join, everything to gain, nothing to lose.
That's right. Exactly. And I don't hold back in that program either. So, the things that I do for clients will be shared in that as well. Okay. So bonus number 2, and I've put up here, just so you know, the next, I think 4 slides, whatever, because we're giving 5 bonuses, all will have the same link. So just write this one down and you'll be able to check off any and all of the bonuses that are offered. We ask you, check the ones you want. You could check them all. Great. There's one that's really for people who are not currently clients of mine, but we'll talk about that. So we're giving away today an Avatar Guidebook and Worksheets for refining and developing your ideal client profile. So if you want that, send this form. It's just a quick little form to fill out, and we'll get that right over to you. Free analysis of your current online reputation and ranking. It's a $200 value. You'll discover what the sentiment is from your existing customers. Mark, I do want you, if you would, kindly just expand on that a little bit so they know what that is more.
This is, yeah, this is just a great way to start to benchmark, and really an excellent exercise in terms of understanding and building upon your avatar, because you're going to learn from this. This is a detailed, comprehensive analysis that I do for you. And from the sentiment analysis, you'll get a sense of what people are saying about you and how you come across. And by understanding and looking at that, that's going to give you a great feedback, because you're going to be able to look at that and say, yeah, that's how I want to come across, therefore I need to expand upon that. Or you might find some surprises in there, and you might say, whoa, where is that coming from? And why is that what people are seeing about me or hearing about me, or why is that the way they understand that I do my service that way? Of course, it could come back very sparse as well, which is another huge red flag that tells us that the world really doesn't know what you do or what you're about. So a lot of benefit from this, and you'll get a tremendous amount of value from this report and this information that we're going to put together for you.
I did. I was shocked by the results. So I was very grateful to know all of it so we could fix some things together. So
and then, just like Jamie does too, from that report, we can then look at different things, and you have the opportunity to, like Jamie, to say, I want this area fixed and I need help with that. This area I can take care of myself. So you can kind of do things a la carte. You might be able to just take that information and say, I'm going to fix it all myself, or I'm going to have my VA fix it all, or somebody, my company do it all. Or on the other side of the equation, you might say, just fix it. I want it all done as quickly as possible, and I'm too busy to worry about it myself. So lots of options, nothing, there's no pressure, no painting anybody into a corner. That's not the way Jamie and I operate.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Yes, it's true. Okay. And this is a gift from me, actually. This is inbound marketing assessment. It's again, a $200 value. You would just fill out a form that I would send to you after you fill out this form that just gives me a little bit of details about your website and that kind of thing. And I will share with you, we'll get on a call and I will share with you some ideas or actually I could just send you the report. Either way, I welcome you to schedule a call with me as a result, and we can go through some of this stuff specific to you. What can you do on your website that gets people to take next actions? And also, what can we do to get people to your website? So that's all covered in either a written report or a written report that you and I would go through together. And I say here, its offer is valid for anyone who's not already a client of mine, only because clients of mine have already been through this. It's kind of a thing that I give them when we first get started. So, and the last thing is a free 30-minute consult / interview. So it could be, Mark and I are both offering some time, and you could select either Mark or me, or maybe you want to talk to both of us and we can maybe coordinate our schedules, and we'll ask you some key questions to help you to get deep to discover your ideal client avatar, who brings out the best in you, and get your marketing focused on the most profitable audience. So those are the 5 bonuses. I think I should have done like a wrap up at the end, but anyway, those are the 5 bonuses. And if you use that link, you will be presented with all of them. Just check off the boxes. So anyway, do we want to do any questions? I think we've kind of run long, right? So maybe we just want to.
We've probably exhausted everybody by now.
Yeah.
No thanks to me chiming in.
This is great.
Jamie, great job. Thank you so much for putting this on. As always, I learned from you. That's a big thing about being not just somebody that feels comfortable and confident in their craft, but also, we try and practice what we preach, is the idea of being open to learn and trying to model that. So I always learn from Jamie and everything she says, and I've had some good takeaways from today myself, as I always do. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you for all the energy that you put into this as well.
Thank you.
Would encourage everybody to take action. Don't just put this on the shelf, but take one idea even and move with that. And of course, a lot of these bonuses are set up in such a way to really be a support system for you to get to take action. So I'd encourage you to go to the links, check off the boxes, and then we'll be in touch and help you in those ways that you request.
Yep. Thank you very much. And just as a little side note, I wouldn't have this success strategies program without Mark. This was his idea. And I'm, at first I was like, oh my gosh, that's going to be a lot of work. But you know what? I'm loving it. I'm
Great.
absolutely loving it. And I love the members, and I just love being a part of creation of this. So it's kind of given, my mother said to me the other day when I was sharing it with her, and she's been on the journey with me, and she says, it's almost like starting a whole nother business, but it's great. She's like, it's terrific. So I'm feeling like energized in this new venture. I've built up my business, which is great, and I love it, and, still open to getting more clients, but this kind of providing good content. And I recommend for all of you, find somebody like Mark that you can identify with and that you're on the same page, and start sharing your knowledge. This is fun. I love working with Mark. So
And it
anyway,
really, and ditto, we become more the sum of the, what's the expression? The sum of the part, the whole is the greater than the sum of the parts. So,
yeah,
the energy just expands and grows. And I think the other thing that we'd be remiss in doing too, and we've done this a few times, Jamie, but we'll get better at it, is please, 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 if you have people that you network with, that you associate with, that you do business with, and you think they'd get value from this, as Jamie said earlier in this meeting, is we're really trying to grow this community. So please invite them to come
yeah,
along. Feel free to share the link. People who who find it other ways will have to pay, but you have that link, and we're comfortable if you share that,
yes, yes.
and help this group grow. So that's the idea.
And also, please, thank you for mentioning this, because I do want to say this. I have an affiliate program for this program, for the success strategies. So when it is a paid membership, if you want to be an affiliate, let me know. And I'll create an affiliate link for you, and I'll send you an email, and you can promote it and make money, make whatever profit that I think I give 20% for whatever we're selling the course for or the program for at the time. So just shoot me an email, and I'll give you that real quick. Jamie, Jaimie at upscaleyourbusiness.com, and become an affiliate. And you can share the free link with your friends, and you could share the paid link with other people that you don't love as much. But they'll come in, and you'll get a little bit of a commission. So
Great.
I want to mention that. All right,
And
everybody. Yeah.
I'm just going to give one more. One of the things I neglected to do too is to share, Jamie, you just reminded me of that, is also my website is releasedynamics.com.
Yes.
And you can reach me directly. My direct email is mark@releasedynamics.com. So feel free if you want to reach out personally. Definitely go to the bonus section, check off the boxes, and then we'll get a chance to connect through serving you in that way as well.
Oh. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Have a great day.